Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really powerful blueprint for growth called RevenueOS. It's a framework that's all about taking the guesswork out of how you make money and turning it into a predictable, engineered process. So when it comes to growth, companies usually go down one of two paths. On the one hand, you've got what most people do, scaling activity. You know the drill, just throw more tools, more people, and more money at the problem. But what does that usually get you? More chaos. On the other hand, you have the alternative, scaling systems. This is a whole different ballgame. It's about building one model, one cadence, and one single source of truth, which, as you can see, leads to more profit. And here's the trap, right? Most companies just default to scaling activity. They keep adding complexity, a new hire here, a new piece of software there. But they do it all without a real blueprint. And this creates this massive, often hidden, drag on the entire business. This really gets to the core of the problem. And it's a crucial point from the source material. Every single decision you make without a unified system, whether it's launching a new marketing campaign or hiring a salesperson, it's basically a guess. And the big takeaway here is that guessing isn't just a little risky, it is incredibly expensive. So if guessing is the big problem, what's the fix? Well, it's about making a fundamental shift from being reactive to being deliberate. It's about installing a true operating system for revenue. A foundational blueprint that defines exactly how your company makes money, step by step. Now, to be super clear, a RevenueOS is not just another piece of software you buy off the shelf. Think of it as the underlying logic, the core programming that connects every single part of your revenue journey, from how you generate demand all the way to pricing and retention. The whole point is to make growth something that's engineered and compounding, not just a series of disconnected bets. So, how does this thing actually work? Well, it's built on 5 core components that all talk to each other. It all starts with the data layer, which creates that one source of truth for everybody. Then, sitting on top of that is an analytics engine that actually models cause and effect. This feeds into real-time dashboards, so you have total visibility. And that informs the standardized playbooks for your team. And finally, there's a scoring system that is constantly on the lookout for where you might be leaking profit. It's a complete self-correcting loop. Okay, this all sounds great, but it's not magic, right? You don't just flip a switch. So how do you actually build this engine? Well, it's not a quick fix. It's a really structured installation. The journey from chaos to that engineered growth we're talking about follows a very clear 5-phase path. So the whole implementation is laid out as a pretty intense 14-week sprint. It all kicks off with a clarity audit to figure out, what does success even look like? From there, the system's architecture is designed, and then it's built and integrated with all your existing tools. After a formal launch and getting the team trained up, the final phase is all about operating and constantly optimizing. It's a process literally designed to systematically replace guesswork with a predictable engine for growth. All right, so you've done the work. The system's humming along. What's different? What does it actually feel like? Well, the result is a total shift. It's like night and day. You go from being reactive, constantly putting out fires, to being proactive and in control. You're basically operating from a place of clarity and calm. And this quote just nails it. The ultimate prize here isn't just better numbers on a spreadsheet, it's achieving what's called operating calm. Just imagine for a second, a world where your entire revenue team, sales, marketing, everyone, is perfectly aligned around one model, one rhythm, and one source of truth. That's the end game. And look, this operating calm isn't some fluffy, abstract concept. It translates directly into tangible business results, the kind you can actually take to the bank. We're talking about having a forecast you can confidently defend to your board, getting your customer acquisition costs under control, and seeing real, measurable gains in your pricing, your conversion rates, and your retention. This is really where the rubber meets the road, because the system is held accountable by hard numbers. Every single part of this engine is tied to a key metric. So for example, demand isn't just some vague goal. It's measured by your customer acquisition cost, or CAC. Monetization is tracked by something called price realization, which is how much revenue you actually capture versus what your list price is. This data-first approach is what grounds the entire strategy in reality. Okay, so this all sounds pretty powerful, but it begs the question, who is this system actually designed for? Because as great as this blueprint is, it's not for everybody.
Well, there's a very specific sweet spot we're talking about here. Companies with annual revenue somewhere between $1 and $50 million. Now, why that range? Because that's typically the stage where the old ways of doing things, the guessing, the chaos, really start to break down. The pain of disorganized growth becomes super acute, and that makes it the absolute perfect moment to install a true operating system.
And if you drill down even further within that revenue range, this system is especially powerful for certain types of businesses. Think software and service companies, e-commerce brands, and even private equity firms who are trying to standardize how their different portfolio companies operate. So if your company fits this description and you're serious about predictable growth, this framework is basically designed for you. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most critical question of all. You see, the real consideration isn't about the cost of implementing a system like this. It's about the cost of not doing it. So the question to really sit with and ask your team is this: what is the true cost of just one more quarter of guesswork?